It's time to begin.
So, to start the lesson on BM, I wanted to talk about my path in gaming and sort of BM culture of online gaming. The first step for me was Halo 2 on Xbox Live. I had a voice chat, so while you were shooting shit with people, you could talk shit as well. BM at that age was very, very basic, very straightforward. You would use slurs of some kind, attack their ability, like tell them they were no good, tell them that their voice was squeaky, because this was kind of in the age range when certain people were post-puberty and certain people were pre-puberty. So you could always kind of question whether someone was a male or not, which a lot of people would take offense to. And then kind of growing up, played WoW for a long time. WoW was a very, very mannered, almost like Care Bearish atmosphere is what it felt like after Halo. So I didn't really get too much experience in BM in WoW. But then playing Han, that's Heroes of Newerth, is perhaps the most toxic gaming community I've ever seen or heard of. It's actually amazing how core BM is to every single match. Just finding ways to shit talk. Every time you die, every time there's a lull in the action. So, with that process, I kind of played the game of BM, where if someone's BM to you, you BM them back and try to do it better than them. And seeing it as a game, you take less personal offense, because it's like, alright, this is the meta, so to speak. An extension of the meta is people shit-talking each other. So I would try and do the same thing, just one better. And then I kind of realized that even though Han was super toxic, the BM kind of got monotonous and repetitive after a while. Like, people didn't change things up in very many ways. A lot of it would kind of get just stuck in the basic racial slurs, sexual slurs, like homophobic slurs, a bunch of just very simple attacks to people that don't actually appreciate who they are or what they're trying to do. And from my experience, I've noticed that when someone insults you in a way that is very unique to yourself and that can't be applied to a large number of people, it tends to be more effective. Like, it hurts more. If people really know you, they know what you want in life, they know who you are, and they, like, cut deep. That sucks. So, kind of being aware of that and how the closer they get to home, the more it hurts, was like, alright, so typically people will kind of go into games and they'll shoot the shit, they'll exchange the BM, but it's all kind of part of the fun in games. You wouldn't necessarily say that it's ethical, per se. Like, it's kind of mean to be shitty to your comrades, people who, like, share your passion for whatever game you're playing. But I took it to the ridiculous level next, because I was like, alright, this BM is boring. I want to, like, give the most specific attack to some archetype of person who's definitely not here. So I would say that someone was from some other country and that they needed to go outside and feed their donkeys or whatever. Like, create a very particular, specific scenario that was obviously absurd and wouldn't apply to anyone present. So that kind of allowed me to circumvent worrying about deeply hurting someone while still playing the BM game. And then I moved on from Han and got into Starcraft. Starcraft is a lot more quiet in terms of the manner and bad manner. Like, people just have less room to type because there's no dead time. In MOBA games and in shooter games, whenever you die, you have hands-free to just type as much shit as you want. But in Starcraft, you're pretty much in the game, start to finish, and you could be making moves every millisecond of the game. So Starcraft seems a lot less BM. It's still pretty dark. Like, ladder on Starcraft seems to be filled with pretty bitter attitude. Mainly, I think, because the win rate for most people is around 50%, and humans take losses twice as hard as they take wins. So if you break even in your ladder sessions, you feel kind of about it, kind of shitty. And if you BM when you win, a lot of people will feel like, well, I'm winning this game, and it feels kind of good. It feels pretty good to win. Would it feel even better if I rubbed it in the face of my opponent? And it was like, man, you really fucked up. You're so shit. Some people get some more value. They feel like they get more value from their wins if they rub it in. That's something for people to decide. It's not something like I would encourage necessarily, but that's definitely part of the meta of how people treat each other. And then, a big difference from Han to Starcraft is the expectation of manner. So we have GLHF, we have just GL or HF, or GGO is a more Korean way to manner. And one thing that really surprised me is some people will shit the bed when they manner to you, like they type GLHF, and for whatever reason, you don't type anything back, and they start to panic. They type a question mark. They're like, "Are you there?" Sometimes I face an opponent who paused the game. They're like, "Hey, are you here? Why didn't you manner?" It's like, damn, dude, is that why you ladder? So it's almost too much of an expectation of manner in the StarCraft scene. If you think about the 1v1 format, it's a really intimate human connection between yourself and your ladder opponent. Like, no one else is involved in that activity. It's one-on-one. 2 people in a fight. That's sacred. That's amazing. This isn't a goddamn manner contest. We should have a fucking manner simulator if people want to just try and say the nicest shit to each other and pat each other on the dick at the beginning of the game. It's ridiculous. So, maybe for those people who really hope for the manner at the beginning of the match, be a little bit more open for different things at the beginning of the game. Some people will type GG at the beginning. It doesn't need to be about manner. There's like the manner police attitude, where at the start of games, it's like, alright, I'm gonna play this game, but gotta be really careful. If the opponent's BM to me, I'm gonna have to find out about that. Like, some stuff is very vague. Like, it could be interpreted as BM, it could be interpreted sometimes as the opposite. Like when I compliment people, and a lot of people will kind of get lost on that line of thinking of, the opponent just said some stuff to me. Is that BM? Is that not BM? It could be BM. I should post to Reddit and find out if it's BM. I mean, maybe, but you need to work on your build. You need to fucking spend your money and do your shit. This is a ladder game. So in the game, there is no requirement whatsoever for you to say anything to your opponent at any point, beginning, middle, or end of the game. That's super crucial to kind of internalize, so that you're not basically tilted by someone who maybe they don't say anything, maybe they say something you don't like at the beginning, or they say something that you do like for the purpose of distracting you. And we're going to get into the notes, which is basically the different archetypes of bad manner and their objectives, like what those bad manner tactics are trying to accomplish. So kind of a concept to put in front of you is the idea of no manner. So rather than manner or BM, there's sort of the 0 point where people don't say anything. That's totally fine. And there's no reason to get panicked by that. You have to cut out emotions in order to progress in SE2, says Zidane. Sort of. You have to manage emotions, I would say. It's not practical or feasible to cut them out entirely. So, we're emotional creatures. It's not possible to pull the cognitive hardware out of your brain that involves emotion. It's a fact of life. But what you can do is be aware of how people are trying to influence your emotions and guard against that. Yeah, with the new patch in Starcraft, we have emoticons. This has revolutionized the bad manner and the manner process. What was once good luck, have fun, is now good luck, have poo, which is amazing. The good people at Blizzard, they did a great service to the community, giving us these various symbols we can use. You can also mess with their head a little bit, stuff like just put a Baneling icon at the beginning, so they're just a little bit more worried of Banelings throughout the rest of the match. So let's go through the archetypes in the notes. Here, I'll type the command again, so you can see. Notes. Put some Korean classic manner things. GLHF, GGO, teach me a move, and thanks for putting the work in. And then I have the structure for these BM archetypes, and we'll go kind of step by step and give some alternate examples from the ones that I have listed. But the first one is Peacock. These are just fun animal names, so they're a little bit more memorable. It's not super important, doesn't matter. Deceive. Give the opponent false information. So if you're playing random, you don't give the opponent any information of which race you are unless you volunteer that information or unless they scout you. So there's a clear advantage for queuing as random, which a lot of people who play random don't think of it as an advantage. They just think of it as, I want to have variety. I want to roll the dice and see what I get and then play that race. That's cool, that's totally valid. But you're not required to tell the opponent what race you are. A lot of people will get in the habit of, they queue as random, and at the start of the game they say, GLHF, I'm Protoss. And you could probably say like 95%, maybe 98% of players, when they report their race queuing as random, they tell the truth. Like Winter is an example of someone who queues as random on one of his accounts, and he always tells the truth with the race that he plays. Bravo, bravo. But not everyone does that. Some people will lie to you. So when they tell you their race at the beginning, it should be taken with a grain of salt. It should be taken with an awareness that they could be deceiving you. A lot of like early defensive procedures, or maybe even just the builds of how people start out their matchup, are different depending on what race you are. So if they believe you, they might go for the wrong build, they might fail to account for a certain cheese, and then the random player has an extra advantage, not only by starting from a point of the opponent not knowing, but then feeding them false information so that they make mistakes, potentially. That's an interesting point brought up in the chat. There's a feature in Starcraft where you can disable receiving messages from people not on your friends list. Let me see if I can find that in the game real quick, just so people are aware. I bet it's in social. Yeah, only allow friends to send me messages. So, nice. I only have 3 people blocked. So Kesneth was saying that if you have that feature enabled, you shouldn't be able to message people not on your friends list either. That's an interesting dynamic where you can enable that, and a lot of people who have it enabled are very BM. And they use it sort of so that they can strike at someone and like talk a bunch of shit to them during the game, and then after the game, the opponent tries to reply, and they can't. So it's like a preemptive, I'm blocking everyone, and I can shit talk them in the game, but I won't receive like any shit talking from them. That's kind of low, I think. I mean, for people who use it just as a basic defense against the BM, that's totally valid. So I'm not saying that it's a bad feature. It's a good feature to have in the game, for sure. But that sort of way of using it is a misuse, you could say. So, next animal archetype, lion, roaring, lording superiority over the opponent. Basically just this could be a gorilla too. Someone who's beating their chest and saying that I'm so much better than you, and you're so bad, and I've beaten you the last many times we played. If, let's say for example, you are the better player. You get into a ladder game with someone you've beaten 10 times, and you've won every single time. I mean, it's apparent that you're the better player. It's obvious. You would even say painfully obvious for the other player. So for you to rub that in further only really worsens your own practice. Like, often that discourages them, so they won't play as well. If they're not playing as well, then your training doesn't go as well. So in an indirect kind of roundabout way, it hurts you coming back. I mean, you might feel special in the moment. You might feel like, oh, I'm a fucking god at this game. But moving forward, you're not going to be quite as good if you cut into your opponent's ability by BMing them in that way. Is it BM to unpause a game if the opponent asked for it, which is a pause and needs the pause? Sort of. You could say the whole pause meta is more centered around courtesy, where pausing isn't a thing that you're required to allow in a ladder game. You can always unpause every time, and a player only gets 3 pauses. So they pause, they say I need to pause, you can unpause, they pause again, you can unpause, they pause, you unpause, and then the match goes for the rest of the time. So for ladder, if you don't have time to ladder, if you feel like you won't be able to stay for a very long game, be prepared to leave. Like, that would be probably the highest courtesy, where you say, I'll sacrifice maybe 3 to 23 ladder points to this person if I have to leave, if something comes up. Or you could basically wager that they won't unpause, but you shouldn't feel guaranteed to not have the game unpaused. I actually had it unpaused on me when I was at DreamHack Austin. I was in the tournament training area, and I was playing one of my warm-up games, and I'm in the game, I'm facing the opponent, and the opponent says, could I get a pause? And I say, well, alright. So the opponent pauses, and I get up and go over to the admin and ask about like who I'm gonna play in my bracket. And I come back, and there are a bunch of spines and lings in my base. I'm like, wait, what? Didn't this person ask for a pause? They did. They asked for a pause, and then I went over to the admin, I talked to them. This only took like 2 minutes tops, probably about 1 minute. And I come back, and they were like, I'm so sorry, dude, I don't have time. It's like, you took time to pause, and then you spined me. Like, you could have left. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get GM. Is that really how you want to get GM? How stupid would that be if you got promoted off of a game like that? That would feel so hollow and sad. So, yeah, it's nice to be courteous. It's really nice to give the opponent the time that they need. But you shouldn't feel like you're gonna get it every time. There will be people who will say, no siree Bob, this is a ladder game, start to finish, no breaks, fight me now. And if you don't have time, then you can just duck out and say, alright, I'm gonna fight you next time. So, the next one, Jackal, Feint. It's flooding chat to distract from an impending attack. This is probably more common than like misreporting your race, because anyone of a main race can do it. So think about the earliest cheese of each race, Zerg, Terran, and Protoss. Terran players going for proxy 4-racks, just talking a shit ton at the beginning of the game. A lot of times, just by saying words about some topic, some off topic, will distract that opponent who's defending to remember, I need to scout the proxy locations, I need to know what my defensive procedure is. And if you're in the chat window, like you have enter pressed, the chat line is open, and you're typing, you have to either press enter and send that message as it is, or backspace if you don't want to send it, and then press enter again, and then get back into the game. So the chat window you could think of as basically a separate area where all your keystrokes are directed, which can cause you big problems if, say, they have a big double drop that's about to come into your base, and then they ask you something, and you answer them. You press enter, and then you get into the chat box and you start typing stuff. They come in, you can't use your hotkeys for your bases and your army. So be very wary of that tactic. It's dirty. It's definitely dirty. But it happens. So be wary of the jackals. I'm just giving people ideas with this lesson. Control plus A plus backspace plus enter easy. You can press escape. Oh, nice. Thanks. I'm putting this in the notes. So pressing escape, does that remove you, like it removes the chat window entirely from what's going on? That's good to know. I didn't know that. MC Monroe teaching me. It'll take the chat window out of focus. Okay. Actually, I want to kind of mess with that, just so I see what the mechanics are like. Alright, and the next one, the next BM archetype, the Weeping Willow. You know them, you love them. These are the good, hardworking people of the Starcraft community who, they play the game, but they're just having a bad time. It's just, it's hard. Starcraft is a very hard game, and it's hard to take responsibility for your losses. So the Weeping Willow will just kind of mourn the state of things. It's so imba right now. It's actually not imba. Like, it's not perfectly balanced, but it's pretty balanced. The better player usually wins. So often, okay, let's test this. Escape. Oh my god. Oh, nice. Thanks. Alt F4 takes you out of the window as well. Savage. Alright, Crow. Cackle. Avila does this a lot. Flaunt superior position or impending victory. So some people only BM when they have reached a sort of win condition where they feel like they've already closed the match, they don't really need to try hard anymore. The opponent has made enough mistakes, or they've reached their desired composition, and sometimes they'll pause. Like Avilo has said to me, and this was back in HOTS, he was like, get out, you're done, GG, stop wasting time, blah blah blah. The opponent is never required to leave the game at any point until their last building has been killed. So it's, you might say, incredibly rude to demand that the opponent leave the game, but it will happen. So you get to be your own decider for whether or not you leave a game. Don't feel obligated just because they told you to leave that you need to leave. It feels kind of poopy to be losing a game and have them do that, but it's a thing. Manner muling is a similar sort of way of leveraging this, where they kind of flaunt that they can waste resource and still be ahead of you. Like, they could have been mining minerals faster. If they were in an even game or behind, they would desperately need to use those mules for their economy. But if they're basically pushing to win, they can just throw a bunch of money in your face, basically, and say, ha, I can beat you with my army, and I can waste all this mineral in your face. Some people will manner mule when they lose, which I think is a cute nod. It's kind of like saying GG, I guess, where they're not really wasting anything because they're not continuing to play. They're bowing out. And then dancing their units. This can be like slash dancing your units, or it can be like stutter stepping them really fast, or like moving them around in a base but not attacking, kind of saying that I can be ridiculous with my unit control and still beat you. So, hyena, taunting, insulting the opponent's ability at frequent intervals. Kind of speaks for itself, saying that someone is shitty. It's less about like the lion, where you're lording your superiority and talking yourself up, so much as just focusing on talking the opponent down and really attacking their strengths. And the spider, this is like a pause-related BM. I've had this happen to me before, but I've seen this on 2 streams at one point. This was a game between Imba Coaching and Spanichua. So Spanichua is a college student. He was pretty big in Wings of Liberty as a Zerg player, pretty popular and pretty strong. They're both GM level skill. They're both streaming at this time. And Spanichua from the early game kind of stuff is super far ahead. He saturates his 3 bases. He's going Ling Bane Muta. Imba Coaching is playing Terran. And Imba Coaching is very far behind, and he's going for a big 2-base all-in with Biotank. And Imba Coaching says, pause. 1 minute, please. And Spanish was like, oh, okay. So he tabs out, and he starts reading chat and talking to his chat. And some people are asking questions about ZVT, some people are asking questions about his university, and he's like reading and engaging and stuff. And Imba Coaching is unpaused, and he's pushing Spanichua. And Spanichua, he's like, so did he unpause? He goes back into the game, and he's getting his shit wrecked. He's like, damn, oh. And that's potentially a way that you can abuse the pause mechanic to take victories when you wouldn't otherwise be able to. Be wary of that. So if someone pauses, they can potentially unpause when you don't expect without announcing it, and then use that to strike at you. So, Snake, deceiving, pretending inferiority to encourage arrogance. This is kind of based on a Sun Tzu quote. So, this is sort of related to smurfing, where you have a certain ability. A lot of times, you'll face an opponent who you know you can beat. Maybe you've beaten them before, and you're on an alternate account. Or it's an account that has its rating deflated a lot. Like, there is one GM MMR player on NA who has a silver Porter border because they play unranked. Like, they just play it up to a really high level. And a lot of times, people like that will be like, oh my god, how did the matchmaking put us against each other? There's no way I can win. And they really play that up, so it's like, oh, this is going to be a walkover, it's going to be a really easy game. And then suddenly, they're better than you. Whoa. That can be deeply upsetting for people. And then, it opens the opportunity for the person who is pretending inferiority to be like, wow, you're really bad. And then they switch from being a snake to a crow, where they were acting like they were weak, and then once they're in a strong position, they're kind of talking down to you. Mockingbird, mock, attacking opponent's character, appearance, or life choices. This is sort of like insulting them outside their sort of gaming decisions. Like, their decision to game is in that realm, but the Starcraft strategic decisions. So you can say that you don't like a person, you could say that they disgust you in some way. Some people will say that they don't like my content when they face me. Sometimes they'll attack my appearance and like question my sexuality, or take issue with my hair length. I still have the hair. It's up today. It hurts when people say stuff like that, but if you are aware that ladder opponents can strike you in those ways, just going into games being prepared. If someone knows you, if someone has seen you, they can potentially attack your appearance. So you shouldn't really be surprised by that. It doesn't justify it. Like, because people can do it, they should do it. It's shitty for people to do that. But, yeah. Be prepared. And now we'll get into the counter BM types. Basically, this is with an awareness of what BM players are trying to accomplish and how to take a stance which removes some strength from them. So, Turtle. You can block people in Starcraft. You type /block Bowman. Cool. And then that person can no longer send you messages. I'm not actually going to block Bowman. We're cool. So sometimes you'll block an opponent and they won't know that you blocked them. Like, it doesn't give them an alert if they message you in the game, but like in a match. But sometimes they'll still spend APM. So it was Pilly, I think, who was playing Imba coaching. Again, Imba coaching BMs in chat a lot. Pilly faced him, and at the very beginning of the match, he just goes, block Imba coaching. And I see on Imba coaching stream, he keeps typing over the course of the game. Like, he keeps shit talking Pilly. And Pilly's just focused on the match. He's doing his build, he's making DTs, and he's killing Imba coaching. And he never sees any of the chat from Imba coaching. So with this strategy, you can take a really huge advantage by them wasting APM and thinking that they're accomplishing something, but they actually don't even get the words across. So the next one, Swordfish Riposte, which is an APM efficient reply to insult/criticism. So this is like 1 or 2 keystroke responses to like big questions. They could say, like, what's your approach in dealing with this matchup? How do you deal with liberators? And you have to kind of explain an answer to them to give them like a legitimate thing. Instead of doing that, you could just type a question mark. And then often they'll type some more. Sometimes they'll do one of the like BM archetypes of talking you down, talking themselves up, just typing XD. It goes a long way. Like, it communicates, aha, you're doing a thing. I'm not going to engage with you. I'm not going to entertain your question or your comment. I'll just like ping. And then you can post another thing if you want to. So it's about APM efficient trades, basically, in conversation. And then the Panther, Pounce, kind of related to Turtle, where it's a refusal to participate in the discourse. You don't block them necessarily, because sometimes they'll give you information by talking. And often this makes a lot of BM people kind of question their investment in bad manner, like whether they're actually getting to you or not. Because if you don't give them anything, they have no basis of evaluating, yeah, my shit talking is working or it's not working. This one I feel like is especially good to practice, at least some of the time. Like with all the people who will feign weakness or people who will try to distract you, you don't have to participate. That's a really crucial thing about manner on the ladder. There's no obligation for you whatsoever to type anything in the game. People want to talk to you, you can talk to them after the game. It's not BM to not say anything. So elephant trumpet, it's sort of like a way of just being confident in yourself and embracing the experience in the environment. So come fight me, mate, I'll punch you in the gob. You said what about me, mum? Bring on the challenge, blah blah blah. Cool stuff like that. This can also kind of be a proactive way of demonstrating that you're ready, that you're good to go, and that the opponent can try to upset you, but it's not really going to be a thing. And then seal, this is probably my favorite, and you guys have seen me type stuff like this all the damn time. Often I'll preempt this, is you celebrate the opponent's prowess. So instead of saying, alright, I just lost a game, the opponent's BMing me, as you're losing the game...
Huh? Sure.
As you're losing the game, you can compliment the opponent. It's sort of like stealing their thunder, basically, where they just beat you, they outplayed you, they outmaneuvered you, outthought you, whatever. That's great. That's fantastic. And you, the losing player, were the primary person who viewed and experienced that strategy and those mechanics. So you know it better than anyone else. And rather than let them like try and get some more value by shit-talking you and saying, oh, I'm so fucking great, I just shit on you, this was easy, fam, you could be like, that was an incredibly decisive victory, fantastic performance, bravissimo. Like, just... What do they have to do? If you're already cheering for them, they just got a fan. It puts them in an odd position from like trying to cut you down and like grind you into dust. They're like, I was gonna say that. And then this last one, the eagle with judgment, it's one that I've started doing recently, mainly in Overwatch. So you can rate the BM of your opponent. You could say, nice BM, or decent BM, and then give it some rating. And usually, it like cuts them a little bit more if the rating you give them is less than 50%. So you could do like 8 out of 8 BM if it's great. You could do 6 out of 8 if it's pretty good. But if you want to kind of like strike back at them a little bit, you could say that it's 3 out of 8 BM or 2 out of 8. You could do better. Like, have you really thought about your BM? You could take it up a couple notches. Maybe think for another like 30 seconds before you send your BM message, because it could be a lot more effective with a little bit more deliberation. I give this BM a perfect 5 out of 7. I'm putting that in the notes. Fractions, how do they work? "17 out of 17 would meme again." Putting that. Nice meme. 4 out of 5 stars would win again. When you won and they won't leave you just great game over and over. I mean, if you're very far ahead, you can always think about just practicing your macro. Or you could watch television or like browse some dank memes on Reddit or some shit. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do when you're very far ahead. You don't necessarily need to do that. You can do that. That's the thing. You could also just spam some emotes. Like, what are these dank emoticons we have? We could do in love. Oops. I don't need to block him, but coaching doesn't even play anymore. The hearts. Speechless. Rawful. Silly. Zipped. Zipped? Infested. GG. Yeah, dude. These emoticons totally revolutionized the whole manner and BM process. Like, Juno, my coach, has actually been on the cutting edge of this. So he'll face a Terran, and he'll go Overlord, Baneling, and then you can copy, paste, paste, paste. An Overlord with 4 Banelings, and then you fly a Dropper Lord in and drop them with Banelings. Or you could do that like right after, Another one that I saw him do, he tweeted this, was probe. Is it pylon cannon? Yeah. And then drone. Oh, got the poo. It's probably hard to see with the webcam. I got it. Great BM, I give it a pi out of infinity. Damn, what a low rating. That's effectively 0.